Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today is December 1st, 2025, and unfortunately, I have very bad news for you. According to our mathematical calculation, there's going to be a nuclear exchange between Russia and China alliance and NATO members. And this particular nuclear exchange is going to happen in relatively short order, and it's going to essentially destroy the Northern Hemisphere as we know it. Allow me to elaborate. My name is Dvorkin, and I'm a managing partner at 4D Capital. We specialize in a very unique mathematical approach to the stock market, where we analyze the market and individual stocks in multidimensional space. And when we do, essentially, perfect order emerges. What most people fail to realize is that these same mathematical calculations allow us to predict geopolitical events, and particularly wars, because we have a very important war cycle associated with the United States and the rest of the world, and this war cycle is coming up very soon, or as we speak. Now, once again, this war cycle predicts a nuclear exchange between Russia and China alliance and NATO members, and it is coming in relatively short order. If you would like to know exactly when that's going to occur, please continue to listen to our presentation today. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to prepare you and give you the type of analysis, financial and otherwise, geopolitical, if you will, that no one else will give you. Because what separates us, while other people might be fundamentally correct, they do not have the timing associated with this particular war. So let's jump into it. So today we're going to be talking a number of very important topics. We're going to talk about, once again, whether the United States is going to strike Venezuela over the next couple of days associated with our December 13th time turning point, or, as we've been suggesting, there's going to be an attempted decapitation strike against Russia. And finally, what we're seeing is articles coming out. Well, this is Sun. I'm not sure if you can count it as a reliable source, but nevertheless, they're pretty often correct, right on the money, right? Because they're walking that fine line. So whether or not there's going to be a strike on Venezuela, as everybody is currently discussing, or there's going to be a decapitation strike against the Russian Federation, we'll talk about that. We're going to take a very quick look at the overall stock market, and we're going to take a look at the short-term cycles associated with our mathematical calculations, so you can build that trust associated with our work going forward. We're also going to take a very quick look at Nike Incorporation. Nike is coming into a very important bottom. We just recorded a much longer video about it, and you can we're just going to summarize that analysis for you here as well. And then we'll talk about the inflation. President Trump just came out and said he's going to fight inflation, he's going to get rid of inflation, and we're going to tell you, unfortunately, why that is not the case. It's a pipe dream. Then we'll finally take a look at all of the pre-war reports, the latest news cycles, and I'm going to describe to you in much greater detail exactly what's happening. So this is very important. What you see on screen in front of you is very important. This is the first time that the mainstream media, if you can call Sun mainstream media, is acknowledging that there's a discussion. There has been discussion. They've talked about it just as much, particularly in all of these think groups in Washington, a possible decapitation strike on Russia. And this is what we see in this article. Now, I've been talking about December 13th time turning point for quite some time. We are now within the margin of error associated with that time turning point. I've been saying for a long time, it's December 13th plus or minus 2 weeks, okay? Because it's a long war cycle. And this long war cycle is associated with December 7th of 1941. So this is an 84-year war cycle. And if you would recall, hopefully you pass history, December 7th of 1941 was a very important day in American history. This is when Pearl Harbor happened, and that's when the United States entered World War II officially, correct? So this cycle hits again on December 13th of this year, and we believe it's going to be an incredibly important geopolitical event. A change of direction in the history of the United States, just as December 7th was. And this cycle is incredibly powerful, incredibly accurate. Just to give you an indicator, in May, the United States entered World War I to a certain extent, not fully, but to a certain extent, in May of 1917. If we bring that cycle 84 years later, we end up in July of 2001, just a few short weeks before the events of 9/11. This year, we don't have to go far, but this year, President Trump attacked Iran for the first time. Now, many people will dismiss it as, you know, it's not important, didn't lead anywhere. Not yet, but it's coming back to bite us in the ass. Attacked Iran for the first time directly. The United States military attacked Iran on June 22nd of this year, obviously 2025. Well, for all of you history buffs, what happened on June 22nd of 1941? I'll pause here for a second. Well, if you've guessed that Nazi Germany attacked Russia, really kicking off World War II, you would be correct. So this December 7th and then subsequently December 13th of time turning point is very, very important, okay? And what we've been discussing over the last couple of days, or couple of weeks, I should say, is whether or not the United States is going to attack Venezuela, or there's actually going to be an attempted decapitation strike against the Russian Federation. And we spoke in great detail over the last couple of weeks why we believe the former is going to be more likely, and why this current situation in Venezuela is most likely a diversion from what's actually going to happen. So they build this large force, you know, let's take a look. You know, they build this large force of, you know, 11 warships, 15,000 troops. Trump is threatening Maduro and Venezuela on a daily basis, hourly basis, you should say. We're going to invade, we're going to bomb you, we're going to get rid of this administration, etc. Obviously, everybody who has two brain cells to rub together understand this has nothing to do with drugs or crime or drug routes or any of this nonsense. It has to do with the possible regime change in Venezuela and access to Venezuelan oil. Okay, so this is what this is all about. Okay, but beside this, this could be a diversion from what's actually going to happen. And what actually can possibly happen is, once again, a decapitation attempt on the Russian Federation, and it's going to happen within a relatively short period of time. We are now within the margin of error associated with this December 13th time turning point. So the stock market is lined up for it. We had a significant bounce. There's some unresolved issues we're going to talk about here in a second. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and jump into it and take a look at what's going on. Okay, so let me close this. We talked about the possibility of a possible attack on either Venezuela or Russia, and we'll come back to talk about that in a little bit. But let's jump into financial markets. This is Tesla. Let me go back to the Dow Jones. Let me go back to a short-term composition of this particular instrument. So the Dow Jones, as you know, we've been discussing this particular setup. What you see here on the chart in front of you, our representation of our three-dimensional calculations, and the fact that the stock market is extremely overvalued, and that we anticipate a significant top coming in. I don't want to give you specific details about it because we have a service that basically times the stock market and gives you exact time and price parameters of when we anticipate either a top or a bottom. Short-term, long-term doesn't really matter, but in this particular case, all I can say is that we've been anticipating a very important top to occur in the stock market. Once that top occurs, we're going to have a significant decline across all indices. Now, what we're looking at here is a short-term composition of the market. We had some unresolved issues, particularly on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has some unfilled gaps to the downside that we need to, this is not NASDAQ, let me pull up NDX. So NASDAQ has some unfilled gaps going all the way back to November and early November, and we should close them before any structurally sound decline should begin, I should say. So we need to go to approximately 26,000. This bounce is most likely incomplete as we speak, but when it completes itself, it's going to be a very dangerous situation because once again we completing this particular bounce, perhaps putting in a new slightly high on the NASDAQ, but then we shifting gears into that December 13th time turning point, which is going to be a very incredibly, well, I don't want to say very incredibly, a very dangerous situation for not only for the US and where we find ourselves in from a historic perspective, but also from perspective of the market, can send us cascading down. And our VIX analysis that we published a video many weeks ago, you can look for it on our channel, indicates that there is going to be disturbance around the middle of December as well. So this is something to look for. With that in mind, I wanted to shift gears and kind of show you our short-term composition of the cycles that we work with on a daily basis, so you can ascertain or verify the accuracy of our work. So what we're looking at here today is December. So this is our short-term time cycles, okay? So what you're looking at here is that there's going to be directional changes in the market when we hit this cycle. So we have 6 short-term cycles arriving today, which is kind of unusual. We had 2 in the morning. We have a cycle arriving, for example, at 10:05, 10:25, 11:20, and then 1 closing. Tomorrow we don't have cycles arriving at all, which indicates there's going to be a directional move. But in terms of the short-term composition of the market, basically what this indicates is there's going to be more or less a trading range associated with today's market within between opening and, let's say, 11:20, and then a directional move will begin at 11:20. This is by the way, this is Eastern time, 11:20 and into the close. So this is something to look for. Tomorrow we don't have any cycles at all. On 3rd we'll talk about tomorrow. So let's see. What I wanted to talk about next is this inflationary nonsense that President Trump is talking about. So this is coming out. Trump vowed to end inflation. If you've been grocery shopping, perhaps doing some other things, but most noticeably, especially for most Americans, it is very noticeable. If you go to the grocery store, prices are significantly compared to last year or the year before that. Especially last year, I do shopping with my wife once in a while, and we just came back from a shopping trip, and you know, it's quite significant increases. I have a mathematical mind which calculates everything all the time, so I kind of remember the prices that we were paying last year, and I would say that probably 30 to 50% higher this year on our basic grocery cart. Okay, so what most people don't understand, this is complete garbage, complete nonsense. You could very well ascertain and know that this particular inflationary spiral was coming in right after the COVID and them flooding the economy with free money, cheap money, whatever you want to call it, and then you know, that's when the prices ended up spiraling higher. You cannot have a free lunch, right? You have to understand, if you're going to flood the market with money, give everybody a bailout, so to speak, that's going to create inflation. That's what we're seeing today. Now, what President Trump is adding into the equation is, of course, the tariffs that he's collecting. That is having a major impact on the prices. We haven't noticed that yet because a lot of the suppliers, a lot of the retailers have been eating those, but we'll begin to see those in early 2026, according to some projections. And if they stick around, if the Supreme Court doesn't overturn those tariffs, then it's going to be a significant problem going forward, because you'll see the prices of everything going up substantially higher. And I know President Trump promised everybody, every single person who's here illegally and the U.S. citizen, myself included, although I'm probably it's going to be a cold day in hell before I release any money from, or I will receive any money from federal government. But nevertheless, President Trump is promising everybody $2,000. I don't think that's going to happen. Pipe dream, wishful thinking. But if that does indeed happen, you know, that's going to add just more money into the inflationary spiral that's being caused by free money, money flooding the system, and of course the tariffs. So you're being sold a dream. Your situation, unfortunately, or everybody's situation, unfortunately, is going to get a lot worse with this inflationary spiraling. Even though we have a deflation, and this is the worst of it, right? So if we kind of jump into the economic picture of it, this is the worst of it, because we have a deflationary spiral on the income side, right? Especially with this AI revolution coming in. And if you've seen some of my prior videos, you know that I made a number of controversial statements, including I'll never hire another person again. So I have some people working for me, but I'll never hire again because I've been working with this AI and I know how powerful it is, and I know that it's going to go through the US job market like hot knife through butter. It's going to destroy so many jobs. And it's going to happen in relatively short order because the systems that I'm currently playing with and working with, I don't need employees anymore. I have AI agents who are making calls, who are answering phone calls, writing emails, reading emails, responding to those emails. Everything is automatic. And for the most part, it is doing a better job than most human employees would already at this point in time. So if we take it and spin it out 3 to 5 years going forward, you will very quickly see that a lot of people will lose their jobs. Okay, even my claim is even blue-collar workers like electricians or plumbers, etc. There's going to be a robotics revolution. It's already happening, where all they're going to have to do is upload the same AI into those humanoid-like structures, and those jobs are going to disappear as well. So perhaps the blue collar, the white collar jobs will disappear, within a relatively short order, 3 to 5 years, and it's going to take a couple more years for the before any of that happened. And this is not a laughing matter, but once again, there's going to be a nuclear exchange, at least according to our mathematical calculations. We'll talk about that in a second once again. So the deflationary force, massive deflationary force, is keeping the wages down and will continue to do so. And that particular situation is going to get, the jobs market is going to get decimated. You're not making any more money. If you have a regular job, you're not making any more money if you're lucky enough to make money at all. Okay? That's your 3 to 5 year future, perhaps much sooner, because the technology is advancing incredibly fast. On the flip side, everything that is real, excluding real estate, and this is not the purpose of that discussion today, will increase in value. So food will increase in value, continue to increase in value, and will continue to put the squeeze on everybody involved. So don't listen to what this guy has to say. He's doing some good things I would agree with, but in this particular situation, he's just helping his Wall Street buddies like myself. Unfortunately, while the rest of the population, the middle class, is going to get absolutely crashed in what's going to happen over the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years. Okay, so don't believe that for a second. I kind of wanted to. I was going to talk about this Jim Chanos and the short sell. I don't really have time for it. I don't want to bother you with more financial analysis. I'd rather switch back to the war forecast. Michael Burry and Tesla. I talked about Tesla before, a couple of weeks ago, where I got a lot of angry feedback from not short sellers, but from Tesla longs, who were disagreeing to the 10th degree with me and my proposal that Tesla is going to decrease quite substantially into next year before the next cycle higher. And because of that, and because of this war forecast that we have, unfortunately, Elon Musk, I feel very, very bad for Elon Musk. He's not going to be able to make that $1 trillion pay package. Okay, it just breaks my heart. But unfortunately, Elon Musk is not going to be able to do it in this cycle. Perhaps in the next life, but not in this one. So we don't really have time to talk about that today. This chart I talked about all the time. This is just a very clear indicator that we are selling in the most expensive stock market of all time. We are in a massive bubble, everything bubble. Now, you had the stock market bubble in 2000, you had the real estate market bubble in 2007. Now it's everything bubble, right? So this particular top has to be adjusted to 35. I talked about that before. So if we consider that, we are sitting much higher than 1929, much higher than 1966 top, much higher than 2000 top. We don't even talk about this 2007 top. I mean, look at this. This was a joke, right? And what was it, 27? So we are almost 60% higher than what it was back then. So this is 42 Shiller adjusted P/E ratio for the entire S&P 500. And as you can see, basically we're sitting in a massive bubble, highly speculative bubble. And if you follow Bitcoin, By the way, we're going to have a complete Bitcoin analysis coming out tomorrow. So I do encourage you to subscribe to our video. Oh my God, I completely forgot to talk about Nike. We just recorded the Nike analysis. Nike, let me pull up this chart very quickly for you. So Nike analysis, go and watch a full video. It was just published literally half an hour ago. Very quick summary, Nike is moving into this major bottom that is scheduled to arrive in both the second quarter of 2026 and fourth quarter of 2026. We anticipate a very important double bottom formation around this particular region. And once this bottom is put in place, let me remove this line. Once this bottom is put in place, we anticipate Nike to increase quite dramatically from 5x to 10x into its next stop, which is scheduled for early 2028. Go check out that analysis. And I think you will be very happy you did, because you're going to be able to time and price this incoming bottom. Okay, so let me see. So we're done with this, let's finish what we started with. Okay, so once again, our work indicates there's going to be a nuclear exchange. I'll give you an average. We actually have a 2-week period of time when we anticipate that to happen, which has to do with summer of 2029. And the reason for that is because both the war cycle associated with this nuclear war and the stock market cycle top out at the exact time. Once they do, there's going to be a very clear move to the downside in terms for the overall stock market. Yeah, we're going to have this pretty significant sell-off now, but then we're going to run up back into 2029. But once that top is put in place, there's going to be a complete structural mathematical breakdown of the stock market. I don't want to say it's going to go all the way down to zero, but that's quite possible. And at the same time, the war cycle hits that I'm talking about. And when that happens, it is giving us, and of course it lines up with the nuclear exchange that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in the summer of 1945. And when that happens, essentially the entire Northern Hemisphere, as we know it today, is going to change. So what we're trying to do by releasing this information is we're trying to, by the way, the link in the description of this video has a book that we published a couple of months ago. Please buy it. It has a complete breakdown of exactly what's going on in terms of this war cycle that I just talked about, in terms of the stock market cycle that I talked about, and it also gives you guidelines that you need to do in order to save, I should say, and protect you and your family, your financial resources, everything. So it gives you a complete breakdown of all of that information. So if you're interested in that kind of a thing, please take a look. So what makes this situation today is very important is, once again, this December 13th time turning point that I talked about earlier. It's going to be a very important geopolitical event, and we have two to choose from. Actually, if you follow the mainstream media, it's only one, correct? It's Venezuela. It is very clear that President Trump has set his sights on Venezuela, and they're going to attack. And when they do, it's, from my personal perspective, it's going to be an absolute sheer disaster. I know there are a lot of people out there that believe in fairy tales, that believe that U.S. bombers, jets will bomb Venezuela for 24 hours. Regime will collapse, and that's going to be the end of that. On the flip side, if you actually listen to some of the military analysts, people with some experience, they are very, very worried about the situation, and they predict that if the United States gets involved, it's going to be a major blow to us from a number of different perspectives, because it's going to be very difficult to win any kind of a war in Venezuela, especially if you send in ground troops, because it's going to be in Vietnam 2.0 on steroids because of the terrain and support by China and Russia of Venezuelan government. So that's one possibility, but the possibility no one is talking about is possible decapitation strike against the Russian Federation. Now, I personally believe that would be an absolutely crazy thing to try, but this is the pattern that we've witnessed with, I mean, if you look at the news cycles, I'm going to just flip through them, and I'm not going to read them and discuss them on individual basis, but This has been the pattern of the United States, especially since this administration took root, is that they are discussing possible negotiations or peace deals, for example, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and then all of a sudden strikes come in, and we see the completely different situation. So perhaps they're trying to fool the Russian Federation and President Putin into thinking that they're safe, relaxing a little bit, which is actually not happening. And perhaps that's why they're kind of extending this possible strike into Venezuela as much as they have been. They've been talking about, oh, we're going to do it this weekend, we're going to do it this weekend, we're going to do it this weekend. So if you want to read between the leaves, most likely what's happening is they're looking at the Russian Federation and they're seeing that the Russians are not buying what they're selling. You see President Putin in military gear, as opposed to being happy about this proposed peace plan that the United States is suggesting. They're doing the opposite. So perhaps the United States is trying to prolong that period of time where they get Russians to buy into this particular peace deal, and then once that happens, they deliver their decapitation strike. Once again, if they do that, this is absolute sheer insanity, because Russia is not Iran, Russia is not Iraq, Russia is not Afghanistan. Russia has 4,600 nuclear weapons, warhead. Some of them are much more advanced than what we have here in the United States. I'm not sure how many of them are pointing at us, but if they fail, which they will, then there's going to be a massive response, and I wouldn't be surprised if they nuke some of the U.S. bases, for example, in Europe, or even do direct hit or strike against the United States. And of course, that would line up perfectly with December 7th of 1941. It would have the same kind of effect, and but that will definitely have a huge displacement of the stock market and what's happening there. So that's what we're looking at. Not a good situation, but as you can see from the headlines, that's exactly where we're heading. We've been predicting this for a long time. We knew this war is coming, and luckily for us and for you who are listening to us, hopefully believing us, we have the exact timing of when this particular nuclear war is going to happen. So not to confuse you, what's going to happen this time around, this December 13th, whether it's Venezuela or Russia, is going to cause a significant disruption within the United States in one way or another, but it will not be the complete total nuclear exchange, nuclear war that we're projecting for the summer of 2029. Things will just continue to escalate and get worse and get worse and get worse until we end up in that particular war. And the reason for that is very simple. They don't want peace with Russia. They want to regime change Russia. They want to break that country into little parts. And when I say them, NATO, which is the European Union and the United States, or I should say us, and then rape and pillage that country's natural resources. So it's nothing to do with Ukraine. You know that. I've mentioned that many times before. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. So watch out over the next 4 weeks. But we get closer to that December 13th time turning point, it's going to be very interesting for me from an analytical perspective to see exactly what fires off, whether it's going to be Venezuela, which, let me put probabilities on it, I would say 40%, or it's going to be Russia, which I actually believe is going to be 60% attempted decapitation strike. So we'll see which one of our analytical scenarios will come into play. So we have a lot of important data points coming up tomorrow. Once again, we'll summarize Bitcoin. We'll talk about the stock market. We'll talk about the short-term composition. We'll update you on the news cycles that has to do with the war with either Russia or Venezuela. And I think you're going to find it very, very helpful and useful. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.